It was a normal sunny afternoon. My 8-year-old daughter had just gotten off the school bus. She was wearing her favorite pink backpack and walking home like she did every day. She passed by Karen's driveway, just like always. But this time, something terrible happened. Karen's 17-year-old son was standing in the driveway. He was holding a baseball bat. For no reason, with no warning, he swung the bat not at a ball but straight at my daughter's head. She dropped to the ground instantly. Blood covered her backpack. Her small hands shook as she cried. I heard the scream from inside and ran out as fast as I could. My heart was racing. I dropped to my knees beside her and called 911. My voice was shaking. My hands were cold. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Within minutes, neighbors came out. Some were just watching, frozen. Others pulled out their phones to record. Then Karen stormed out of her house. She wasn't worried. She wasn't shocked. She pointed at my injured daughter and yelled, "He's lying." My son would never do that. She didn't look at my daughter. She didn't ask if she was okay. She didn't call for help. She just pulled her son behind her and said she probably tripped. That's when I stood up. I was shaking, but not from fear. I looked her in the eye and said, "There's a security camera on the streetlight. The footage will show what really happened. You better hope the police get here before I do something I'll regret." Karen smiled with confidence. "You think the police care about some immigrant kid with ketchup on her face?" "Get off my property," she snapped. She had no idea who I was. She didn't know what I had done for a living. I used to train federal interrogators, teaching them how to break liars in court without laying a hand on them. I wasn't just a father. I was the storm she didn't see coming. The sirens arrived quickly. 2 police cars pulled up. I waved them down, still kneeling beside my daughter. A female officer came over and checked her injuries. I said, "She's bleeding from the scalp." The attacker is a 17-year-old male inside the house. His mother is trying to cover for him. Karen rushed in, yelling again. He didn't do anything. "This man is threatening my family." The male officer calmly replied, "Ma'am, we haven't started the investigation yet." Karen huffed and said, "Well, start with me. I'm the president of the HOA. The officer raised an eyebrow. "That's not a law enforcement title, ma'am." Karen crossed her arms. "Technically, I can press charges for disturbing the peace. I've done it before." I stood up and handed the officer a USB stick. "This has the streetlight footage. I wirelessly pulled it before you arrived. It shows everything." Karen lunged forward, trying to grab it. "You're not allowed to access that," she shouted. The officer stepped back. "That's secure surveillance. If he accessed it legally, it's none of your concern. Step back or you will be detained for obstruction." Karen's confidence started to shake. Her smile faded. But then she pulled out her phone and said, "Fine. I'm calling my cousin. He's a sheriff's deputy." I didn't even flinch. I simply said, "Maybe he and I can compare badges." The officer looked at me. "You're law enforcement?" I opened my old ID, Retired Federal Interrogations Division. I trained half the sheriffs in this county. Karen turned white. Her son, watching from behind the glass door, disappeared inside. The officer went to the cruiser to review the footage. Karen tried one last time. She softened her voice. "Maybe it was just an accident. Kids play rough. No need to ruin a boy's future." I looked her in the eye. A misunderstanding is when someone spills juice on the carpet, not when your son nearly kills a little girl with a bat. You've been lying since the start. Karen took a step back. The male officer returned. His face was serious now. "The footage clearly shows your son standing on the sidewalk with a bat. The girl walks by, says nothing, and he hits her. Full force. No warning, no reason." Karen stuttered. "But he has ADHD. He didn't mean to." The officer replied, "This isn't school. This is felony assault." And you interfered with the investigation? We're adding obstruction charges. Officers walked her son out of the house in handcuffs. He looked down, red in the face. Karen moved to block them, but the female officer held up a hand. You interfere again, and you're going in too, she said firmly. Karen looked around. Neighbors were recording. Some were live streaming. That's when she made her biggest mistake. She screamed, "This is racist. He's targeting us because we're white." The whole street went silent. I walked toward her. Your son attacked my daughter. She's 8. He's 17. And instead of helping her, you're playing the race card. Then I gave her the line that cracked her. You better hope she doesn't slip into a coma. Because if she does, you're not just going to jail. You're going viral first. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Suddenly, her son started crying. Mom, you said they wouldn't do anything. You told me to do it. You said she was just a noisy foreign kid. Karen screamed, "Stop talking," and lunged at him. The officer caught her mid-motion and slammed her against the car. That's it. You're under arrest for obstruction, child endangerment, and interfering with a felony investigation. Karen screamed, "You can't arrest me. I run this neighborhood." The officer didn't even blink. Not anymore. As she kicked and cried, no one helped her. Not the neighbors. Not the people she once bullied with HOA fines. One old lady whispered, "All that power. And now look at her." Later, I sat in the back of the ambulance with my daughter. She was stable, needed stitches, needed rest. The paramedic looked at me and said, "Your wife said she's flying back early. She sounds tough." "She is," I said. "She trains SWAT teams." He nodded slowly. Yeah, Karen picked the wrong family. By morning, the news was everywhere. Footage leaked. Karen's screams. Her son's confession. Her arrest. The HOA board found out she'd been stealing funds for personal use. Her power disappeared overnight. Her house went into foreclosure. The board dissolved the HOA. Someone spray-painted her garage. Not above the law. In court, her son confessed. He was sent to juvenile detention, therapy, and community service. Karen wasn't so lucky. She faced charges for obstruction, lying, child endangerment, and fraud. The judge asked if I had anything to say. I stood and looked her in the eye. You didn't just hurt my daughter. You used power and fear to cover it up. But real power doesn't scream. It waits, and then it ends you. She cried in her seat. The judge sentenced her to 5 years. No parole. Outside, my daughter held my hand and asked, "Is the bad lady going away forever?" I smiled and said, "No, sweetie. Just long enough to remember what forever almost looked like." Because in the end, she didn't just mess with a father. She tried to destroy a family. And she learned the hard way. When you pick a fight with a quiet man, you better hope he's not the storm. If you want to hear more wild HOA stories, don't forget to like and subscribe.